Hello, story lovers, and welcome to Tales with Tasha and our weekly roundup. This video has all the exciting stories from this week in one place, as well as a brand new longer story at the end. If you would like to skip straight to that, head to the timestamp shown on screen now. Thank you for dropping by, and let's jump right on in.
"Ah, sir, she sees you!" exclaimed Sister Grace. "You'd better not stay!" The nun clasped the cross around her neck as the thing at the end of the room rose to show a human shape. To call her a woman seemed an insult to women everywhere as she growled, showing long yellowed teeth closer to the fangs of an animal. Even across the room I caught the fetid smell of her breath. "You see the creature," Mr. Rochester said. "She died, and yet she lives. Only the Holy Cross contains her, and she will not end." "Take care, sir! For God's sake, take care!" Sister Grace insisted. With a terrible scream, talons extended, the creature launched herself towards their party. I woke from my fevered dream to a tapping on the window. The lock was sealed, so I reached through the glass. Only as cold, vice-like fingers encircled my wrist did I see the apparition beyond. Eyes like glowing coals, skin as pale as death, mouth a maw of twisted fangs. "Let me in," she demanded. I screamed, pulling back, but it was useless. The door banged in as I felt sharp pains in my arm. "Cathy!" Heathcliff thrust a cross at the window and the creature fled. Released, I staggered back. "You are bit," he said, what looked like a fence post in his hand. "Pray for your soul." Sunken eyes as black as coal stared at me from that sunken face surrounded by yellowing white, the wedding finery a mockery in its decayed state. "Who is it?" said the lady at the table. "Pip, ma'am." "Pip?" "Mr. Pumblechook's boy, ma'am. Come to play?" She smiled too wide for a normal human visage. "He promised me life everlasting. I was to be his bride," she said, as if I should know who he was. "But he abandoned me." "Ma'am?" "One day he will return," said Miss Havisham, eyes taking on a strange glow. "Until then I must survive. Come to me, boy, and we shall play." Like a fish on a hook, I walked towards her. The courtroom was as absurd as the croquet lawn, but, Alice observed, there seemed to be a much more sombre air. The knave stood, head bowed before the king as judge and the queen in all her glory. Alice felt a tingling of fear she had not felt before. Witnesses came and went, as the queen said not a word. Alice wanted to speak up for the knave, but her voice seemed lost. "Guilty," the queen said, even as the white rabbit was mid-speech. The court froze, and the queen stood, transforming as she did into a hideous beast. The knave, once a card, became as human as Alice, and died as one, as the queen's teeth daggered into his neck. I had never seen such a look on Sherlock Holmes's face as I saw when the hound stood, as if it had not been shot moments before. The creature's eyes were red in its head as it glared. "They will be mine," it hissed with the twisted voice of a woman. The mist swirled a moment, and what stood there afterwards was a caricature of Mrs. Stapleton. Skull-like features, long white teeth and twisted claw-like hands marked the monster. "Watson," Holmes said, "I have made an incalculable error. Yet our salvation came from an unexpected source. Lestrade stepped forwards, a cross in his hand. The creature wailed and fled. "Quickly," Holmes said, adapting as ever. "We must find her resting place and end this." As battles went, it was short. Macbeth claimed his final victory with a single blow, even as Macduff stood like a statue of stone. Yet, his enemy did not fall before the victor's eyes. Macbeth's triumph crumbled, and his adversary smiled with spittle blood on 2 red lips. Backwards he stumbled and stared as Macduff laughed, belly pierced by his impotent blade. "I shall not die that easily, tyrant, and neither shall thee." Before Macbeth's very eyes, Macduff pulled free the sword. The blade, like silver, shone as it dripped with foul humours and blood. While icy shock stilled Macbeth's wits, his enemy tossed the weapon aside as if it were naught but a paltry toothpick. Then, like an arrow from a bow, was the Thane of Fife on him. Pain took his throat, teeth too sharp to be of mortal man pierced his flesh. Strength deserted his form, and prophecy betrayed its victim. As the solitary moments slowed into an age, the agony stretched into each corner of his being. That which was not of mankind made itself clear in his pain, as Macbeth understood this to be his end. Yet Macduff pulled back, lips and chin as red as any battlefield, teeth like a wolf, before it was done. "'Twas my mother's own hand ripped me from her womb, and placed me safe in the crib of a babe, lost that night to another mother. For love was I conceived of mortal man, and hidden with mortal woman. For love have I denied my true self." Macbeth knew only awe stifling his reason at the nightmare vision above him. What art thou?" No more sense could he force from his flailing mind. "Born of Banshee was I, and reborn shalt thou be also. My love hast thou slain, villain, and for ever shall I slay thee through nights without end. Thy torment shall I be, from this moment until the last days." Held by eyes full of unearthly light, staring into his very soul, Macbeth could not fathom an escape. His agency sorely failed him as he lay limp in his enemy's arms. Nothing could spark life in his weak and useless limbs, even as Hell's demon leaned into him once more. Lips as cold as the grave covered his own in a poisonous embrace. With the traitor's kiss came blood, the taste of which stung on Macbeth's tongue. The scourge burned his throat in an unstoppable flow, even as its unfathomable power seeped into his very being. He knew its deadly taint, sensed its ungodly purpose, and, at his last breath, heard the laughter of women.